Hey guys, it's Wayne Scully, business and tax strategist. My firm is W Scully CPA PC. I'm focused on providing solutions to landlords, flippers, and real estate pros in the New York tri-state area. My firm offers tax compliance, business consulting, and high-value tax planning strategies to save you thousands of dollars. Now, today I'm talking about something different. I'm going to talk about, I should say, about New York taxes, New York state taxes, not so much on the federal side. And the title of this video is So You Thought You Moved Out of New York, huh? And the reason I titled it that way is because there are a lot of people, since COVID or during COVID, during the pandemic period, which we're still in, by the way, that moved out of New York to places like Florida and, the Carolinas and so forth, because frankly, New York is a very expensive place to live, right? And these people, the ones that moved, they could work virtually. They're most likely office workers, white collar workers and so forth. So cost of living in New York is very expensive. Those states are cheaper, relatively speaking. Taxes are lower because, for example, New York State or New York City, for example, we pay federal, state, city, and sales tax. And to top it off, if you own a home, you pay property taxes. So that's a lot of taxes, folks. So according to the US Census Bureau, New York lost about 319,000 residents, 1.6% of its population between June 2020 and July 2021. The greatest loss migration, by any state in the nation. That kind of rhymes, migration nation. Anyway, this creates a lot of state presence issues, right? Where do you reside? Do you reside in New York part of the year? Do you reside in Florida the entire year? Like, what's the story, right? If you moved as a consequence of COVID and you're working in that state and you technically didn't live in New York. So many people figured by moving to Florida, they would not have to pay New York State and New York City taxes. Problem is, New York has, like many other states, has residency domicile rules, which basically says if you're changing your domicile, which is really you're kind of like akin to your permanent residence, you must leave and land. That's the rule. Leave and land. That's the leave and land rule. And it simply says, I'm probably oversimplifying it here, but for the benefit of the people listening, I don't want to get too technical. You leave, if you leave New York permanently and you leave New York permanently, you must land in the other state permanently. And what does that entail? How do you prove that you've moved from New York to, say, Florida? Contrary to what a lot of people believe, you can't just go get a new driver's license, a Florida driver's license. That's not going to work. You can't just change your voter registration to Florida and say you're now a Florida resident. Well, you could be a Florida resident, but you can't say that means you're not a New York resident, right? So a lot of people believe that they can do that and that's it. That's not enough, folks. And I'm saying this because there are a lot of cases where auditors have looked at folks who've just presented a voter registration card and or a license from the other state, thinking that would be sufficient, and they've lost. So you have to provide clear and convincing evidence. If you're audited, right? It's one thing to put that you're not a New York resident on the tax return, and that's good. It's good up until when you're audited, right? So if you're facing an audit and you have to prove, you must show clear and convincing evidence that you have indeed moved from New York into another state. Now, this may mean showing a copy of your new lease. There are a myriad of things that you could probably show that would prove this, and we can talk about it another time. But for now, just keep in mind that it's not just your driver's license and voter registration card. That's not enough, right? And so, even if you moved permanently to the other state, it depends on when you moved. You could still have to pay. You may still have to pay New York State and New York State taxes, right? Because they have statutory residency rules. If some of you may be aware, you live in a state for practically half the year, you're considered non-resident to that state, right? So if you're non-resident, you still may have to pay some taxes to that state you moved from, i.e. New York in my example. So folks, I'm not going to go into the technical details on this. As I said before, I just want to give you a heads up You know, when you thought you moved, huh? You probably didn't. So talk to someone about that, get that clarified, make sure you're preparing that return properly. So you pay only what you need to pay to the state that you ought to pay, okay? Or states you ought to pay. So have a question about this or any other topic that I've discussed in the past or something else that's on your mind, give me a call. My name is Wayne Scully. I'm with W. Scully CPA PC, always working on the clock to save you a chock full of cash, time, and stress. Make an appointment by visiting my website, www.wscullycpa.com, www.wscullycpa.com, or you can call me toll free 855-254-1892. Please like, share, comment on this video. And, if you didn't like it, but information is useful, I can't say all the two things could be true, but I guess it could be. You can share it anyway, right? Because someone out there could really use this information. So it may very well help them save a lot of money in taxes. So guys, take care until next time.